6 out of 10 Republicans recommend FTR Radio to everyone they know. The other 4 are rhinos. FTR Radio, online at FTRradio.com. FTR Radio salutes some of the great Democrat presidents in the radio era. FTR Radio.
You're listening to Liz and Taylor.
Alright, so why can't I get another tattoo? Come on.
Because you get another tattoo, then you start talking another guy.
But not the movie star, the battling duo from the Right War on FTR Radio.
Oh, come on.
You're the one who said it.
That was a joke, partially.
Enlist in the Right War. Won't cost you nothing. Not as good as military service, but it's got to count for something, right?
Good evening, folks. Thank you for listening to FTR Radio. I'm Liz Harrison, and this is The Right War. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't have Taylor tonight. He's on vacation. He left me. I am so sad. Okay, maybe not. If he hears me say that, he's going to be upset. But I do have a guest co-host, Rod Eccles, from the Rod Eccles Show. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Liz.
Oh, thanks for joining me. I know a lot of people are very nervous about going on the air with me for some reason.
That means that you're really, really, really good then.
Maybe. Either that or I'm just scary. Yeah. I saw you knew Wayne Dupree and I was like, uh-oh, I hope he didn't go and ask him, who's this Liz Harrison person? Yeah, because Wayne and I go way back.
We won't ask how far back, because a gentleman never asks a lady her age or even get close to that. So we'll let you keep that little secret.
Yeah. Well, that's something that probably isn't a secret. He and I both were on the same station a little over a couple years ago. So, yeah. He was around when I was just a nervous girl who couldn't manage to deal with being on the air. At least that's what they told me.
Now you're doing well, and there's no nervousness at all. So you got through it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one I blame on a guy who didn't show, well, he wasn't supposed to be on the air one day and they forgot to record, and I ended up covering an hour of broadcasting solo with under 10 minutes of prep.
Oh, wow. I know what that's like, and you're late getting to the studio, and then you just sort of have to wing it, but somehow everything falls into place right when you need it, and that's always a good thing. Unless, of course, technology decides to war against you.
Oh yeah. So we've had a busy news day today. The Tsarnaev thing we were talking about a little bit before, and we're both in agreement here. Yeah, it's great that he was found guilty, but. Let's see the punishment phase.
It wasn't a surprise that he was going to be found guilty in all counts, but I think you mentioned something earlier about it's Massachusetts, so he probably won't get the death penalty. And I have to agree with you. I would be highly surprised if he did get the death penalty, because his attorney did a good job of tugging at the heartstrings. It was his older brother that forced him to do this and brainwashed him and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not buying that.
No, but hey, the good old taxpayers will get to pick up the rest of his life. He's probably going to have a very long life since he's not even 25, I don't believe.
No, I'm trying to think. I think he's barely over 21.
Yeah. So, well,
Yeah.
there you go. It is what it is, but it ain't what it ain't, and it's probably not what it should be.
Yeah. And I'm just waiting for them to trot out the old Rolling Stone cover.
Yeah, well, hopefully, what's her name? Sybil or whatever her name is. Hopefully she's not covering the stories.
Oh, they should have fired her. Just saying.
No
Yeah.
argument here, but it's always interesting to see. Speaking of her and just blatantly lying and not fact checking, which is every good reporter's duty is to check the facts before you print something. And this is no different from the left and news media, with a history of lying. And I love when when people try to come at me, because they always claim that whatever I talk about, they claim that I should listen to more than just Fox News. I'm just a Fox News lover and everything. And I have to remind them over and over and over again, I actually do not watch Fox News. But when I reveal that to them, I also throw in, well, I know somebody who probably does watch Fox News, and that's you, because you know what Fox News constantly talks about. So you would know better what Fox News says than I do. And they inevitably say, well, I never watch Fox News. Well, then how would you know what Fox News says? I've watched, because of this business and this industry, I've watched the other side. I've watched MSNBC, CNN. Yes, I suffer through it, folks. I do, just so I can get their view of what they're actually talking about. And I know for a fact that those people, I mean, they claim that Fox News lies in their news reporting. Like, okay, well, maybe they have misreported some stuff on purpose. I'll give you that. But how can you possibly be upset with them when we know for a fact that on your side we've got proven liars, admitted liars like Brokaw and Brian Williams, and we know for a fact that even venerable shows like 2020 and 60 Minutes have staged news and created news and basically lied on the air. But that's okay, I guess. So just one or two stories that Fox maybe got wrong. Maybe they got it wrong on purpose, or maybe it was by accident, but they still got it wrong. And you're going to go off the deep end and say that everybody's like that. Well, okay. Well, that's just one channel, Fox News. How about all yours? Now, every one of them has been caught lying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get the fun one whenever I get crucified for watching Al Jazeera. Yeah.
Well, you have to know what they're saying in order to be able to logically correct their misinformation and their lack of facts. I'm not one that goes around and just talks off the top of my head without knowing the facts. I mean, I want to know that. I want to know the truth. I don't care where the truth leads me. I just want to know the truth. Because you can't really make good public policy. You can't make good personal decisions unless you have as many facts as you can possibly get. And this isn't a touchy-feely thing anymore. We can't legislate by feelings. We can't have foreign policy by feelings. You need facts. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah, the Iran one is what really has been getting to me. I end up getting on websites that are probably putting me on watch lists. But yeah, I actually do go to, Press TV and the various, well, there aren't that many of them, originally in Farsi news sites. And when we got this nuclear deal, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, you gave them everything they wanted. It's not a deal.
No, that's why they were dancing in the streets celebrating over this deal. It's why, It's why all of a sudden the Iranians did a seemingly about face and accepted everything, because they were probably thinking, wow, we're getting like 95% of what we want. We better say okay and get the heck out of here before they come to their senses. That's not how you do deals. That's not how you negotiate. It's not a negotiation if you give them everything they want and you get nothing. I mean, how is that a deal?
It isn't. And it is definitely a deal with the devil. I'm one of the people who is extremely cynical. And I know a few people would say that I'm borderline into the conspiracy theories and all of that, but I'm looking at this from the perspective of understanding that there is a chess game going on here. Never mind that Obama's playing checkers. There is a chess game going on here, and Putin is playing. And when I saw that the nuclear material was supposed to go to Russia, I thought, yikes, it could end up just going nowhere. You know, like they claimed that they took it, but it could still end up remaining in Iran.
Or they could just trade it.
For something worse.
Yeah, Putin could say, yeah, they sent it up here. You can even look at it, but we don't get to inspect, Russia and Putin's stockpile, so they could, just tell Iran, well, just send us the stuff that isn't exactly pure, and we'll trade you for something pure.
Right.
I wouldn't put it past them, really. I mean, that's... No. Again, you're right. Putin he's a marvelous, fantastic manipulator, chess player, and Obama's sitting over there playing tic-tac-toe and checkers.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and the options that we have looking at the Democrats, it's no better. I mean, Hillary is a little bit more hawkish, but she's got blinders on too.
Don't get me started on Hillary.
Oh, you love her too?
Oh, she's a wonderful person.
See, I lost all respect for her when she didn't file for divorce.
But she's the smartest woman on the planet. She knew what she was doing. She actually, there was where did I hear? Was it today or yesterday? I heard a story or rumor that after the Monica story broke, supposedly Hillary did something to Bill that he needed stitches in a place that you couldn't see when he's with his clothes on. I don't know if that's a rumor or if it got started inside the White House from some staffers or not, but maybe she took out a little bit of revenge on him, took out her little pound of flesh. But then again, Bill has always been a philanderer. She knew it, but she decided to stay there and hook onto his coattails because she knew she'd eventually get to move on to bigger and better things. And then hey, some of it paid off for her. She was senator of New York. And then all of a sudden, she decided to buddy up with her sworn enemy of Obama and become his Secretary of State. I really would have liked to have been a fly on the wall in both of those rooms when the Obamas were talking about making Hillary and Bill and Hillary talking about going to work for Obama. That must have been wow. That was I got to admit, I was shocked when she accepted.
No, I wasn't.
I was shocked for the simple reason because I knew the animosity between the two families. There is no love lost there. None. I can understand why Barack wanted her on his team. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Because doing that, it means if she's going to be on his team and in an important position like Secretary of State, there's no way possible that she would be able to challenge him during his reelection. So there was definitely, I'll give Barack kudos on that chess move because he kept her out of the way for his second term.
Yeah, you don't want to be primaried as a sitting president.
No. And if she was sitting out there, as still as a senator or twiddling her thumbs, I really, in an alternate universe, she did take him on for, his second term, during his second term. But in this universe, unfortunately, we don't live in the world of sliders. I'm sure there's some people out there that have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's true. But honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what the angle was as far as Benghazi, because I know what went down. Like, obviously, we all do. But I'm trying to figure out why in the world they chose who they did.
I'm really, there is no, and this is probably why I can't figure out, there's no logical explanation for the way they handle it before, during, and after. There's no logical explanation. I can't, which is why I can't figure it out. And unfortunately, sometimes it's very difficult for me to not think logically in order to get in the mind of these liberals and these idiots. That one really escapes me. I admit it. I don't know.
Oh no. I understand. How do I put this? I understand this was another round of Charlie Wilson type activity. Instead of in Afghanistan, it was going on in Libya. And in case you don't realize what I'm referring to, Charlie Wilson, of course, the HBO, I think, made the Charlie Wilson's War. He was the one who started up the whole Reagan administration fighting a ghost war with the Russians in Afghanistan, which arguably left us with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, because we picked up and left a power vacuum when the Russians left. But it was also said that was part of how we brought down the Iron Curtain. But when they did that, it was all black ops. It was all under the table, through dirty deals, through multiple hands and all of that. It was not a direct act by the government. It wasn't sanctioned. So what I think was going on is that they had Ambassador Stevens on the ground doing deals with somebody. I'm not exactly sure which players they had in mind on the ground in Libya and beyond. I just can't understand why they picked him, because an out gay ambassador is the last person that you want to have on the ground in that region dealing weapons.
Yes, I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from, and I have heard of the conspiracy theory that he was chosen on purpose because they intended, for whatever reason, to eliminate him because he was too dangerous either for Hillary or for Barack, for some reason that he needed to go. And of course, obviously, they can't dirty their own hands. Now, going back to the Bill Clinton administration, we know that there is some shady stuff that went down there with people's lives and ending up dead or missing. And this could, the Clintons are very familiar with how to be able to do stuff like that without getting their hands dirty. I always take it, speaking of TV and movies and things like that, there's a particular program on Netflix that I watch very closely. And I think it reveals a lot about how politics in this country and indeed worldwide actually go down, and that's House of Cards. And the president in House of Cards, I mean, he's just a total scumbag. There's no other way to describe him. But you see all the dirty deals that he does. You see how he manipulates people to do his dirty work. So he doesn't necessarily get his hands dirty. But the goal is still the same, to eliminate your competition, so to speak. To eliminate roadblocks and obstacles to the things that you want to get done. And this is something that was floated around quite a bit about Anderson, is that he was in the way for some reason. There was something that he had or knew that they couldn't risk letting him use or get out or what have you. So I don't know. There's a lot of when you're looking at the whole process of what went down in Benghazi timeline. None of it makes any sense. So it does lend itself to conspiracy theory that he was left out, to hang, as it were, on purpose.
I wasn't. I'm not willing to jump to that point yet, only because I'm not sure that's, you know what I mean, that is going out there. Because he did have a lot of experience in the region, and arguably he was a competent man to go and deal with standard ambassador-type things. It's just that once you start dealing with getting in the weeds with the radicals that have major issues with his sexuality, that's a problem. So I'm not sure if it was because he had anything on anybody. I think that Stevens was just simply someone who was a very poor choice by someone who honestly really doesn't know how to play the game on the world stage, namely Hillary.
That is also very plausible. In either scenario, it's scary. Either her and Obama have had something to hide, needed to get rid of him, which is dirty and dastardly, or they truly are that incompetent, which is dirty and dastardly. So either way you look at it, it doesn't bode well for the United States.
Yeah. Well, I've come to the basic conclusion they're delusional and think that they understand what the heck is going on, but they're not paying attention. I mean, we're dealing with the situation where ISIS is not Islam as far as this administration is concerned, and that's a flat-out lie. If anything, it's the purest form of Islam that's out there.
Yes, it is. And to have this president refuse to call terrorism and a terrorist organization or group a terrorist organization or group is really quite frightening. And, it's one thing when you're just a little bit inexperienced. Now, we can say that about Jimmy Carter. He was arguably, one of the worst presidents of the United States. The man was just in over his head. He was just inexperienced, and he really didn't have the needed tools and experience to be president, but he was still elected. When it just comes to Obama, it really doesn't matter about his experience. The man is just inept.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has a stilted vision of what Islam is, and it's probably because of his upbringing. Because the rose-colored glasses and looking at it with the innocence of a child. So, I mean, I would have been all for someone who understood what the religion was. Or actually, I should say ideology. The United States military had it right until this administration decided to tell them they couldn't call it an ideology anymore. So,
yeah,
and words do matter.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to matter, but remember, we had a change in what words mean back in the Clinton administration. It all depends on what your definition of the word is type of thing.
Yes, thank you, Bill Clinton, for making oral sex not sex.
Well, they tend to think. I'm going to say they tend to think outside of the box, and when I say that is that they tend to think in a way that is far beyond what most other people think. Most other people have a knowledge, and they know that words have meaning, and that you don't. When you're dealing with people on the world stage, you don't tend to use colloquialisms that only the local people are going to understand. You're going to use something that's internationally understood, that has a rigid meaning and is not easily changed. But these people think they can just change the meaning of a word in order to fit whatever sick or twisted ambition or goal that they may have. And this is what we see with Obama when he's refusing to call, terrorist, and he's refusing to call terrorism terrorism. They're now called man-caused disasters. That's ridiculous. I mean, you just call it what it is. Everybody understands it, and you can better be able to deal with it. But when you start to obfuscate and try to change everything, then people get all confused, because now we're looking at, well, there's a number of different factions out there fighting, and it's a mess. You got the Saudis, bombing certain factions in Yemen, and then in Yemen, ISIS is our friend, I guess. But in Syria and in Iraq, well, ISIS is our enemy, and that's not. You can't mix things up like that. Nobody can make any sense of what's going on over there. It's a mess, and it's really due to lack of leadership from the United States. And Putin is sitting in Russia laughing his you-know-what off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's getting his jollies. But, Obama has more flexibility now or something.
Yeah, he has. Yes. Yeah, hey, go back and tell your boss that when I get reelected, I'll have more flexibility. And yet, even though we know that this guy said this, we still reelected him.
Well, I wouldn't say we.
Well, I'm just in general, the American voter still put him back in office for a second term. I guess that whole thing that if you don't vote for him, you're a racist. If you don't reelect him, you're a racist. And of course, they've already put out the talking points that if you don't support and vote for Hillary, you're a sexist. So, hey, look, it worked twice for them before. Why not try it a third time, right?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we'll take a couple minutes break, and we'll be right back here, folks. I have the wonderful guest co-host Rod Eccles, because we are without Taylor for the week, if anybody's confused. So, we will be right back after this. Hello, this is Liz Harrison from The Right War here on FTR Radio. And when I want to bring you the best conservative talk on the net, I use Radio Boss from djsoft.net.
This is Ash Scow from the Washington Examiner, and you're listening to FTR Radio.
Hi, this is Taylor Millard, co-host of The Right War, heard here on FTR Radio. I'll give you one simple reason why you need to listen to Liz Harrison and me every Wednesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. You never know when I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. Liz, I've had similar situations with you in bed. Wait, what? What? That just came out way wrong. That's The Right War, every Wednesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern, here on FTR Radio.
The tennis gonna get lifted. This ain't a call to get twisted.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to FTR.
Hi, this is Charles C.W. Cook, and you're listening to FTR Radio.
And we're back, folks. Have Rod Eccles on the air with me instead of Taylor, because he has a much-needed vacation. My poor co-host tonight, shortly before showtime, was saying he had eaten chicken that had been slightly undercooked. So I wonder, he might have been out no matter what.
Well, probably shouldn't do that.
No. Yeah, that's not a good idea. I joked and said he needs a new meat thermometer. But, yeah, we were talking about how wonderfully qualified Obama and the Clintons are.
Yeah, they've done such a bang-up job. You know, it is pretty bad when you have people, and I have to admit I'm one of those people, that we're in such a state now that we can actually say with a straight face, I miss Bill Clinton in office. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be pretty bad if people can actually honestly say that. And it is that bad. Probably worse than we actually realize. And we're not going to know really how bad things are until we get a new president. Well, if we get Hillary or her lackey Elizabeth Warren in there instead, well, we'll probably have to endure another. I don't know if we can make another 4 years.
No.
With that type of liberalism, to tell you the truth, we definitely will not be the same nation. Absolutely not. You know, we're not the same nation we were 10 years ago, actually now. So it's a scary thing. You know, people say change is scary. Well, yeah, but this type of change is absolutely frightening.
Yeah, I was just pointing out to, and I think that my friend is afraid to say anything, but his alma mater, University of Michigan, they are having their issues with American Sniper. Muslim student organization there protested the screening of the film on campus. Now, initially they said they weren't going to show it. And then they decided, well, yeah, we will, but we're going to create safe spaces to discuss it and have dialogue. And I'm like, really?
Okay. Safe.
We need safe spaces for all the things.
We needed safe spaces.
It's right up there with the free speech zones.
Okay. If they want to go that route.
Yeah, they do that, unfortunately, on college campuses. They have free speech zones, and of course we also have, you know, Rolling Stone doing the whole, we have gang rapists on campus deal when there isn't. So, because rape culture.
Isn't the whole country a free speech zone?
Yeah. Yeah.
I you know, hey, I'm from the old school. I might be wrong on that, you know, because this is not 1970 anymore. This is, after all, the enlightened date of 2015.
Right. Yeah. I have no words because it kills me. I came from near the ivory tower before I came to the whole political scene. At least, well, I've been in the political scene forever, but writing politics. Before that, I had been in academia, and I couldn't take it anymore. I just seriously could not take it. I couldn't stand the atmosphere. And I'm not talking about just the liberalism. I'm saying that there is just such a lack of critical thinking.
We don't teach that anymore.
No.
It's rote memorization. Well, I always, this is what I call it as I see it. I don't call them public schools anymore. I call them public indoctrination centers, because all these kids are learning is you know, enough to pass a standardized test. So it's rote memorization, and they're not really learning anything. They're not learning how to think. They're not learning to question. They're just learning, well, this is the fact that you have to know in order to get the question right on the test. And if you question it, if you say, well, if a student says, well, I learned that that's not actually accurate. Well, it doesn't matter. The teacher's job is not to delve into it and say, well, let's talk about it. Let's do some critical thinking about it. No. Stop right there, Johnny. I don't care if you found facts that contradict what I'm teaching you. You have to learn it this way. And look, my sister is in the public educational system, and she went to school. She got whatever they call the in between the master's and the PhD. So she has that type of degree, and she decided that she wanted to go into school administration. Well, I think she found out after she got into it that was a huge mistake. My mother also worked in the public schools. She was an office secretary. And the stories that she used to talk about, it was just, it's not the same anymore. They're not teaching kids; they're indoctrinating them. And there was a YouTube video that was going around about a month ago, and it was, I forget who it was. He was doing an interview on the beach down in the Daytona area, spring break, and he was asking people pretty basic questions, like, well, one of the questions was, well, who is George Washington? And one of the girls that answered, no, don't get me wrong, because the guys that they were showing answering the question were just as feeble-minded. But he asked her who George Washington was, and she answered, oh, I think he was a president. And I'm thinking to myself, this is probably not going to end well. And then he proceeded to ask, well, yes, you're right. Which one? And I kid you not, her answer with a straight face, oh, I think he was the second president after Abraham Lincoln.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then, she had a good laugh at herself because she was so stupid. Not only are youth stupid, ignorant, but they don't care and they think it's funny.
Right.
I used to be, if I didn't know an answer that I should have known, I was highly embarrassed not to know the answer. I mean, this is a pretty simple question and pretty simple answer, straightforward. Who was George Washington, first president of the United States? Wow. Every kid, by the time they're in third grade, is supposed to know that answer. But yet, she's a college student, and she doesn't know the answer.
Mm-hmm. And the scary part now is she can vote.
Yeah. Oh, how about the Obama's wonderful idea of making voting mandatory?
I just loved that one. Of course, he was just one-upping Oregon. Oregon has a thing where when you go to get your driver's license or a state photo ID, new or renewal, you are automatically registered to vote. You have to opt out.
Okay, that's awfully nice of them.
Yes, isn't it? Of course, this does turn the whole argument over the voter ID thing on its ear.
Yeah, yeah, they can't, pretty much, well, you can still get an ID. Well, if you just go down to California, they want to give illegal immigrants a driver's license.
Right.
So yeah. I guess that would allow an illegal to be able to vote in the state of Oregon because they have a driver's license, right?
They don't permit illegal immigrants to have a driver's license there.
Oh, so. But they have a license in California. They can't transfer it?
No.
And what's that? Because what? They're illegal.
Exactly.
Imagine a state standing up for the law.
Yeah, never mind the fact that they twist another one, but at least they're standing up for one of them.
Hey, we should be happy that they're getting one thing right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Baby steps. Yeah. I'm just waiting, because I said something to leader community organizer Obama-type person here in the Pittsburgh region. I said, I've seen you all complaining about the whole voter ID thing. When is it going to occur to you that it's insulting? And the person looked at me, and I said, have you looked at what it takes to fill out one of the forms to get an ID? And they said, no. And I said, maybe you should. He did. And he came back to me and he said, yeah, that is extremely insulting. Because the implication is that an individual is not intelligent enough to write their own name down, their address, their date of birth, write down their social security number, and provide a social security card and either a birth certificate or some other, and in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania you can use a christening certificate, baptismal certificate, or a passport, and there are a few other documents that you can use to prove your birth. But they prefer the birth certificate. So, yeah, he said, yeah, that's very insulting.
Well, it's all about, trying to... One of the things I've learned about liberals is that they don't try to lift society and individuals up to a higher standard. If there are people that hold themselves are at a higher standard, well, that's unfair, and they need to be brought down to the lower standard where they think everybody else is. And it just serves to dumb down the whole society, and they don't realize that that's insulting. If you have people that actually take the time to be informed, to learn, who want to better themselves in their neighborhood, in their community, and you're telling them it's unfair? Well, hey, you make $100,000 a year. That's unfair. Okay, and okay, so I'll have to give up a little bit of income. So I'll move to a neighborhood where the average, income is $60,000 a year. Well, no, that's unfair, because you have these 10 people over there that are only earning $30,000 a year. Well, but most people are earning more than that. Well, yeah, but it's unfair that all of you are earning more than 30 grand because they can't earn more than 30 grand. So instead of trying to figure out how to take them from 30 to 60, it's better off why don't we just tax everybody so much, regulate them so much, throw in all these different laws and rules and regulations that actually makes their 60 or 100,000 equal to 30,000. This is their mentality. This is their reasoning.
Right.
It's kind of like, kids keep score. Well, the adults are saying, well, we shouldn't keep score because we don't want to make Johnny feel bad if he loses. Well, let me tell you something. Johnny already knows if he won or lost. They're keeping score. People keep score, even if liberals think that they shouldn't. It's a bad idea. It's unfair to keep score. Well, that's just life. You got to keep.
Yeah. The big one that bothers me is that thanks to all of this liberalism, it's gotten to the point where it's not like it was when I was growing up. You would be ashamed of having the reduced lunch ticket or free lunch ticket.
Yes.
At school. You'd be ashamed of if families would be ashamed of being on welfare.
Yes. Those times are gone. I mean, it is something else when you see generational welfare recipients, and there was. If you want an education, and I'm not. Well, I guess I am kind of picking on them, but if you want an education on how government has really damaged society, especially those at the lower rungs of economics, just don't go in there to buy anything. Just walk around your local Walmart, and you will see what I'm talking about. Because the people in Walmart, believe it or not, they do not care if you listen in on their conversation, and they don't care simply because they're speaking so darn loudly. You can't help but not hear their conversation. And it's amazing to me how they will just, start spreading their laundry all over the place as they're walking down the aisles. And I remember one case in particular where this young girl had probably a son who's no more than 4 years old, dragging him around, talking to her girlfriend and talking about how her ex-boyfriend, the child's father, was a deadbeat, and if he didn't give her child support, she's only asking for $40 a week, and if he didn't give it to her, she was going to take him to court and have his license taken away and throw him in jail. And this while walking down Walmart aisles with the kid in tow, who could hear exactly what she's saying, along with everybody else. But she wasn't embarrassed to talk about it like that. I mean, that's something that people used to, they used to try to hide within the walls of their house. We don't air our dirty laundry out in public. The parents would always tell the kids, you don't go around talking to other people about our problems here. No, we don't air our dirty laundry. And now it's, well, hey, I don't know. I guess if you air your dirty laundry loud enough, maybe a producer from Maury Povich will hear you and put you on a show.
Oh, good God! Yeah, find out he's not the father.
Yeah. So yeah. It's a different world. It really, and it's not for the better. It really isn't. But this is what we get with the poverty.
Right. Definitely. And I saw it. We had it here. That we had a woman who was upset because they were taking down federal housing, and she said that she was third generation. Like, they had 3 generations of their family, at least, living in federal housing. I was like, she was like, this is our home. This is our home, and you're tearing it down. And I'm like, excuse me? No, you didn't pay a mortgage. It is not the city coming to tear down a house that your family paid a mortgage on, and then it fell into disrepair, and you're heartbroken because you couldn't afford to fix it. Those people I feel for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it always makes me glad when I see contractors that I know in the area step up and help people like that. I mean, my husband works in the building supply industry, and there have been a few times over the years where he set up to basically literally go with the begging bowl from store to store among his employer and their competition to get building supplies for projects like that. Because, they'll take the stuff that somebody threw in the back of a warehouse that got damaged. They couldn't sell it to, somebody full price, so they'll go and take the slightly damaged stuff and cut off the bad part and use the good. But, yeah.
That's not government doing that. That's the private sector doing it, and they do it a lot more efficiently than any government program.
Oh, definitely.
But it's really bad for private people to want to do that. Somehow unless they're a registered liberal Democrat, somehow it's very bad, and they're making money off of it. I don't know where that mentality comes from. They're taking advantage of these people somehow.
No.
Or build a new one. I don't understand. I really don't understand that mentality. Well, the only thing that I've concluded that it's simply not about liberalism. It's not about caring. It is about your intention. It is, you say something and it sounds good and it makes people feel all warm and fuzzy. It's about the intention, but when the actual results fail, results may vary type of thing, that doesn't matter. What matters is, well, I want people to be happy. I want people to be, this or that, or have this or that. So I think we should try to give it to them.
Right.
Instead of, well, I would like people to be successful too, so why don't we teach them how they can do it on their own? Instead of having them dependent on you. And I think that there are liberals that really do like the dependency. They like having people depend on them. It's a new form of slavery, basically. But they do like having people depend on them. So when you tell them, well, how about we just, try to get people who off the system? Oh, well, that's a terrible thing. You want to cut them off. You want to starve them. You want to make them homeless. And no, I don't want them living in a shack, a government shack. I want them to be able to afford, that average 2,500 square foot home with 2.5 bathrooms and 2 cars in the garage. That's what I want them to be able to have. But you're keeping them in a little 3-bedroom shack with 1 bathroom that barely works and a broken down car. And you think that's being compassionate. That's not compassionate. That's slavery.
Yes, definitely. And you go and, of course, we saw that here. Reverend C.L. Bryant came to Pittsburgh to go and speak on behalf of a Republican mayoral candidate. And he went into the one of the black neighborhoods of Pittsburgh, and I was actually ashamed. I wanted to apologize to him because they heckled him. Because, these were all the community leaders, the community organizers that were out there. They were heckling him and saying that he was wrong to suggest that they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and promote education and stop teaching their children that the police are the enemy and start teaching them to have respect for themselves.
Well, if they did that, then they would realize that they're responsible for themselves, and if they fail, it's most likely their own fault. So therefore, they cannot honestly blame somebody else. But if they remain the victim, well, then it's everybody else's fault for where they are.
Yes. And I think that's what it boils down to. Liberalism gives them the opportunity to blame anyone but themselves for the outcomes in their own lives.
Unfortunately,
it's an easy way to live.
I don't know if it's so easy. Let me tell you, I've been poor, and I've had money, and it's much easier to live with money than without it. And
oh no, I mean the concept of blaming others whenever stuff goes wrong.
No, I understand, and when something goes wrong in my life, I look at myself first. What did I do? Was it my fault that I caused this? And it causes me to reflect and say, okay, now I need to do something different. I'm not going to sit back and blame everybody else and hey, it's your fault, hey, it's my cat's fault that I'm like this. No, I made the decisions that I made, and therefore I'm the one that has to live with them, good or bad. And if they're bad, then I need to find a better decision to make. And if they're good, I need to build on that.
Right.
I don't understand any other way.
Well, that's why you're a conservative. In a nutshell, right there. And it is difficult. I've been there. I like I said, from the ivory tower, and had to deal with those community organizers that kept on saying, give us money. They wanted, when we built the new hockey arena, they wanted us to hand them millions of dollars, the city of Pittsburgh. No, we don't want you to encourage business to come in. No, we want you to give us money, and we don't want you to tell us how to spend it either.
Well, I am not a hockey fan. Although I am a big football fan, and my favorite team since 1973 has been the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There you go. Yeah, I've had people who are afraid to say who they have as their fan, who they're fans of. I had one on Facebook today saying that I didn't have him on the air because he's a Ravens fan. Yeah.
I saw those low points, and they were some pretty low points.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, we're getting up to about that time, so thank you, Rod, very much for joining us. And of course, where can we find you on the interwebs?
Liz, it's been a pleasure being here, and they can find me at rodeccles.net. That's RODECCLES.net.
Okay. And of course, at Rod Eccles on Twitter, because I know a lot of our listeners always do the Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Twitter. Absolutely. Follow me on Facebook, The Rod Eccles Show. Facebook.com/The Rod Eccles Show. Go over there and like it. Lots of good stuff gets posted there. I see a lot of funny, not so funny, so in 140 characters on Twitter too, all throughout the day. So have a good time with that stuff.
All right. Well, thank you very much, folks, for listening, and have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow night.